So I'm currently on the phone with Sam Spade. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hey, what's going on, Alex? Sam Spade here from the Midnight Devils. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. Our band is based out of Nebraska and Omaha, Nebraska, and Chicago, Illinois. So we're based out of two different towns, but we've traveled all around the world. We're on currently writing our third record right now. So it's kind of new, up and coming, exciting. Things are happening, and it's been a wild 6 years just putting this band together and kind of learning as we go how to control our own destinies and chase our dreams. It's been a very cool ride. The Midnight Devils is one of the most exciting bands that I've been in, and I'm very grateful to have this band in my life and this music in my life.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Speaking of having music in your life, let's talk about when that started. When did you first come in contact with music, and what about it made you want to connect to it?
Sure, it seemed to always be there, and I don't know how many people you talk to about this, but it seemed like it was kind of there from the beginning, and like I just felt different around when music was playing, and especially early on. For me, it was Elvis Presley was such a massively huge influence, and the Beach Boys were so incredibly big in my family that those type of bands kind of really shaped and formed what I love about rock and roll music. So the Beatles, AC/DC was another huge one that my dad just seemed to play all around the house. My mom was into music, my dad, and then my stepdad was actually a classically trained pianist and organist. So it just kind of seemed like everything that we ever did as kids was music related.
Sure. So how long or at what age do you think it was when you kind of wanted to take that next step and actually, learn an instrument and start participating with music?
Sure. I think my parents had put us through. So when I was young, I was in like a Christian school. It was a Lutheran private school, and music was very influential, throughout the church and throughout stuff like that. It inspired me, but it wasn't the catalyst. And really the catalyst for it, I was eighth grade, I want to say. So roughly, 14, 15, 16, right in that age when I had heard Kiss for the first time. And that was the point of no return, if you will. That was the point that pushed me over the edge where I'm like, I got to do this. I got to go out and get a guitar, learn how to play, and start a band with my friends. So it was pretty early on. And I just celebrated a birthday last month, and that's like 20 years of being in a touring rock and roll band. It's kind of cool, kind of crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Did you start learning any instruments or anything, or kind of how did you approach the, participating in a band and filling out a role?
Sure. I had no idea. So all of this has just been trial and error, and you learn as you go. And I think that's the coolest thing is that there's not like a manual on how to do this, on how to be in a rock band. And you kind of really have to learn through your mistakes and watch what other people do and take that in and build upon it. So when I was 16, I asked my parents to buy me a guitar. It was really that easy. I go, I want to become a guitar player, just like Ace Frehley. So they went out and bought me a Les Paul, and I started taking lessons. And then, a few years later, I joined my first band, and it was a band in my hometown. And we put shows together. We were terrible, but it was something to do, and it's something for all the kids to do in the town. And that band was incredible because we were also young and so just involved in the music, in the band, and the traveling. And we took that band and traveled all over the USA with that band. And I was really, really proud of what we accomplished, kind of without any support from anybody else. There wasn't like money coming in from a label or money from our parents. We did it all ourselves. And I think that really instilled in me this kind of punk rock attitude, these punk rock values of we don't necessarily need a big label or a push or anything. Don't tell us what we can't do. We're going to go out and do it anyways.
Sure. So, stepping back a little bit, you kind of mentioned that you had a band when you were in high school and coming out of that. How did you kind of work from, that band seeing kind of mild success and then coming into, the band that you're with now? Or are they the same band and I just didn't make that connection?
No. And it wasn't, it was a really cool question, actually. I was a guitar player in this band and we like I said, we traveled all over the place. The band did great shows here in Nebraska and all throughout the Midwest, and it just didn't last. You know, we were still partying, and we were still kind of doing the things that were holding us back, and I think that was one of the reasons that that band didn't make it. And it really, what it did is it pushed me into thinking like, okay, I've kind of almost managed this band. I've run this band, so I think I need to go out there and put this energy that I have and this really creative, positive force. We need to put it into our own band and be the own, like our own masters of our destiny, and do it without having somebody else involved. Now, coming out of the band I was in high school, I jumped into, like when I was 20, I jumped into this 80s hair metal tribute band, which was great because it gave us a chance to play out almost every weekend. I made great money. You know, my chops as a musician became really, really good because you had to learn those songs and be really good. And through this band is where I met kind of my partner in crime, my musical partner, Chris Heinlein Sniper, the guitar player in the Midnight Devils. And I think without my band back in high school, I never would have even attempted to join this 80s hair metal band, and I would have never met my best friend of 15 years and the guy that we wrote all these songs together.
Okay, and that's a great kind of segue into kind of what my next question is. Obviously, with the previous band you're in, you kind of mentioned setting in kind of those punk rock vibes and that kind of philosophy towards it. What do you kind of think kind of drove you into, you know, the theatrical 80s hair metal band scene that was appealing to you?
Yeah, very good question. Like, why do you wear the makeup? Why do you wear the clothes you do? It was directly related to Kiss, and I was such a big and still am such a big Kiss nerd that I really felt like that was what I wanted, and that's what made me feel right. I felt like people deserved a show, and people wanted to go party. So my whole thing was it's very positive. The music that we create is very positive. The environment we create and the stories, they're also positive, and it's always about pushing that positivity and kind of that freedom to do whatever you want. And I really, really do feel that through this style of music, and I don't even know that I consider it 80s hair metal music. I definitely don't think the Midnight Devils are a hair band, but I definitely think it's this overwhelming creative freedom, and this freedom for not only us as musicians and as stage performers, but to our fans, to anybody else, to say, look, you can be who you want to be, and a million people are going to tell you you can't do this, but at the end of the day, it's all up to you and what you want to do. You got to chase those dreams, and a million people saying no is kind of means you're on the right track, you know. So it really, like my dad was like, why do you dress like that? I go, this is what I want, this is what I love, and
Sure.
and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it regardless of if you say yes or no. And I really think that's like the ethos, if you will, of the Midnight Devils. You know, people ask,
Sure.
like, two of the guys wear makeup, one of the guys doesn't. Why is that? And because I go, that's his freedom to do that. We don't have any limitations. We don't tell people what to do. We really just go out there and be yourself and do what makes you happy. This life is too short to do anything less.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I apologize if I pulled 80s hairband out of nowhere, but I thought I had heard you say that.
It's totally all right. And it is. And that's the cool thing with the Midnight Devils, is that it does take pieces from that early glam period of Sweet and Kiss and Slade, and it also takes pieces from Van Halen and Guns N' Roses and these great 80s bands. But what we're doing is something that's very new. It's people can look at it and say, I know what they're doing. Like, I get these feelings of the 80s, but it's brand new and exciting and electric. So I always say, it's not that we're an 80s hair metal band. I love those bands, I absolutely do. But with this band, with the Midnight Devils, it's something different and something that's really, really cool.
Sure. So let's talk about the Midnight Devils for a bit. Obviously, we've kind of covered over the genre that it is. But tell me a bit about, where you guys are at in your careers, what sort of tours that you're planning, and, where you kind of want to see it go to over the next, 5-10 years.
Sure. We are, it's a very exciting time for us. And I say exciting and nerve-wracking. Still going back to those kind of punk rock roots is we've done some really cool stuff, and like our our goals are huge. It's not about taking over Omaha or Chicago. For us, it's about taking over the world. And I really think that we go into every situation with that kind of mentality. Is this going to push us to whatever that next level is going to be? How do we keep this band on the road? We're like road dogs. It's what we love doing, is being on tour and being in that van and seeing our friends all over the world. We just did a tour in Europe. We did 30 days supporting Enough's Enough, our first international tour, and it was incredible, to say the least. I never thought, going into it, I didn't think it would be possible for us to even climb this mountain of traveling and taking a band across 10 different countries in Europe. And we did it through close help, like our friends, our family, our girlfriends, so supportive of everything that we do, that it's a really cool thing. So our goal is to just put out a record, be creative, write these songs, and then go out on tour. Kind of that blueprint that we took from our heroes of writing records and then touring every city, in the world. That's really the end goal, is that we want to see everything. We want to go everywhere. We want to be everywhere. Just because I think as a kid, you join a rock band to see the world. And that's, I'm not going to rest until we accomplish that goal.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's a very traditional outlook to the way that, the touring and releasing used to be. I like it.
Right. And so what's happening is it's kind of like this grassroots thing. And I feel, especially over these last couple of years, we kind of been the champions of going up against those gatekeepers and those guys that are kind of not giving bands a chance. And that's really what it seems like, is that all these people say no, and when people say no, it just drives me even harder to go out and do it myself. So a manager or a record label or a booking agent or anything like that says no to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and do it myself. I don't need these guys.
Yeah, that's great. And there is more and more of that every day as the industry changes. And these days, it's absolutely possible for bands to do it on their own.
Yeah, it is. And there's so many outlets and so many tools at our disposal now. People talk about the internet, and has it hurt or helped the music industry? Obviously we see the problems that the internet has caused, but on the other hand, it's also opened up a lot of doors to where we can reach out even farther than we could have in the past.
Yeah, as a whole, I would say the internet is a net positive for the artist, and probably a net negative for the record labels.
Right. And so selling records at the end of the day, is a difficult thing. And I found over the years that selling records, we do it when we're on the road, and that's really, you put in that hard work, playing shows, touring, but that's where the record sales come. We don't sell records when we're sitting at home. Right. So we got to go out on the road and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, awesome. So since you have been playing with so many bands and touring out there for so long and playing these shows, what are some of your favorite memories that stand out to you?
I have so many, and we could really talk stories all night long. And it's like almost every city, I have a really good memory or a terrible memory, or I have some sort of a story. And so the ones I remember the most are seeing, like, in January we went all the way down to Key West, and we did a big festival down there. We were on tour with Enough's Enough, and we traveled through Florida. And being able to, we drove from Florida into Key West, and I guess just being able to see like the southernmost tip of the United States, I'm just like completely blown away that we were given this opportunity, and we didn't take it lightly, and we went in there with respect, and it was the coolest thing ever. Same with Europe, kind of seeing Europe, but seeing it with our really good friends. And I think that was like the coolest thing. You can go on vacation and do all this, but being able to do it with your closest friends, and you're on like this mission, and there's no mercy, and we're out there to prove a point and to make our mark. And doing that with your buddies is one of the coolest things. And it really instills like this camaraderie and this us against them kind of vibe throughout the Midnight Devils. And even with Enough's Enough, I can't talk enough about Chip from Enough's Enough, who produced our record and took us to Europe. He was really kind of the fourth member of the Midnight Devils, like the George Martin of the Midnight Devils, really helped us and has brought our career to a whole nother level. So kind of seeing the world with these guys has been the coolest memory in my book.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right. Well, where can people find Midnight Devils and listen to your stuff?
We are everywhere, everywhere that they're all over the internet. Let's just say that. So we're on all the streaming platforms. We're very active on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. We will respond to all comments, respond to all messages. We got videos out on YouTube. We got the last video we put out was for the single Highway 69, which has kind of been our smash single coming out of the new record Never Beg For It, which came out last July. And so we have 2 videos on YouTube, 2 or 3 videos on YouTube, and everything else is at themidnightdevils.com, which is where you can pick up CDs and T-shirts, and just know that anything purchased through our website goes directly into funding the tour. And I'm the guy that's shipping out the CDs from my house straight to your door. So it's really that easy. And anything purchased is a huge help in pushing us, to get to the next city or to the next town or whatever the next party is going to be.
Cool. So I always like to give the person that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message in general that you feel you resonate with that you want to put out there?
My message is very different. And I think like if I were to ask the other guys in my band, Jimmy, our drummer, Jimmy Mess, his message would be, very simple, is I do what I want and nobody's going to stop me. That's his. Chris Heinlein, our guitar player, his message is I want to play guitar and have a blast. And I'm a little different. I look at it like a dream big, and don't let anybody or anything come in between you or your dreams. Not managers, not record execs or anybody else. Nobody has the right to say you can't do something. So you're going to go out there and do it, no matter if it takes your whole entire life and you sit practicing and working at this. Doing this through music, through the love of rock and roll, is this ultimate reward. And I really think that kind of after 20 years of being on the road, it's still exciting and still fresh and still just my passion, my heart and soul. And I don't want to give it up. So I'm not. It's really that simple. Chase those dreams and dream big.